Hi, my name is Ruth and I am from Eat Sleep Colour, and today I'm going to talk about how Art Nouveau has really influenced modern interiors. Now, Art Nouveau was a period between 1890 and 1914. It is a period where a lot of artists were looking at the arts and crafts movement, which was the period before, and how they looked at nature. They also combined it with what was happening with the Industrial Revolution and realised that they had so many more possibilities than before. It's also perhaps the first time where we see the look of a certain period being just across all of Europe, which was wonderful. And you can see it here where it was used on the gold metalwork to create this beautiful ornate elevator, or here with the geometric and organic shapes create this wonderful room, or perhaps the whiplash curves that you see here in this furniture combined with the more ornate colours. Now, what was interesting was coming out of World War One, we see people looking and asking for a more modern look. Now, the jump in technology was quite fascinating at the time. We had people listening to the radio, there was more cars in the streets, and there was also maybe a lovely couple going to the cinema to watch a silent movie. After the war, we go into this new period called Art Deco, and one of the men from this period who was very influential was Le Corbusier, and he was an architect. His buildings can be seen across the world. He also had quite an influence on furniture and our interiors, and you can see from these images here of interior spaces that these are interiors that you would have loved to have been in. I myself would love a space like that. Now, you can ask yourself, do we see Art Nouveau still being influential in the last 100 years? And I would have to say yes. Now, in the 70s or in most recent times where there's perhaps been more social and political unrest, we see that we perhaps look towards other periods in the past and perhaps create these more ornate spaces. They might not look like Art Nouveau, but they definitely have a nod. And they're either quite over the top in colours, quite heavy with their materials, quite heavy with the amount of fabric and colours being used. Gold's come out again, and really creating these little cozy spaces that people can escape from. Now, what is interesting is the last maybe 10-20 years, the environment has been helping us realise that we perhaps need to really think about where does that product come from, how is it made, how is that material made, what do we do with it, how can we use it. And I myself really am starting to consider this as well in my interiors. And I think it's good to mention here that we should realise that these interiors can still be stylish. They can still be homes that we can live in. We don't have to skip on the style. Now, Art Nouveau still has some influence on people that really love this period. But what you'll notice is from these images here is the images of what is now compared to then is these are more nods, whether it's the whiplash curves and the sense of gold happening, or it's the furniture here, but the colours are softer, the colours are much more enjoyable in the space, and perhaps it is more of a nod rather than living in the Art Nouveau period itself. Now, I find Charles Rennie Mackintosh a really influential man, and I still look at him as somebody to find inspiring for spaces. He was a man from what was called the Glasgow style, and I still look at his furniture, his properties, sometimes when I'm thinking about spaces of today, and I think that just shows you the impact that Art Nouveau has had onto modern interiors. So I thought I would end this talk by sort of showing you images of things that I would find inspiring if a client was to come to me and say, you know, Ruth, I really would like an Art Nouveau bedroom. And there is actually a company from Glasgow called Timorous Beasties, and they do these wonderful interiors where they're all screen printed, they're all looking at nature, and I thought this Scottish inspired wallpaper would be wonderful all around the room, combined with these curvaceous beds and these sort of Art Nouveau inspired lights. But again, how can I use it in a more modern way? And I think that would go towards answering potentially a client's brief on how could I use an Art Nouveau in a modern setting. Now, I really hope you've enjoyed my talk, and please do give me feedback. Thanks a lot.